Imagine a world without shape. No mountains touched the horizon. No forests covered the earth. No rivers crossed the world. No living creatures existed beneath the heavens. Only water, an endless ocean stretching across all existence. Above the deep waters, the heavens had already been established by the word of God. Light continued to illuminate creation, separating day from night for the very first time in eternity. But beneath that light, the earth itself remained invisible, hidden beneath the abyss. Imagine witnessing that moment, a silent universe suspended between light and darkness, the heavens stretching infinitely above a world still covered by the primordial ocean. No continents, no valleys, no life. Creation was still incomplete. The first day had brought light into existence. The second day had formed the heavens. But now, something even greater was about to happen, because the Creator was preparing the earth itself. The waters that covered the world would not remain without boundaries forever. The land hidden beneath the abyss was about to appear for the very first time. And in the silence of that unfinished universe, God spoke once again. Then God said, "Let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear." And instantly, creation obeyed. There was no delay. There was no resistance. The voice of the Creator echoed over the abyss, and the world began to change before eternity itself. Imagine that moment, the waters beginning to move for the first time in the history of creation. Entire oceans retreating under divine authority. Massive currents sweeping across the silent world as the planet began to reveal what had remained hidden since the beginning. And then, the land appeared. From the depths of the primordial ocean, enormous masses of land began to emerge. Mountains rose upward, valleys took shape. Entire regions appeared beneath the newly formed heavens. For the very first time, the earth had continents. The world was no longer only an abyss covered by water. Now there was ground. Now there was structure. Now there was a place prepared for what was still to come. The waters continued retreating to the boundaries established by God. And the Creator called the dry land earth, and the gathering of the waters He called seas. Everything was receiving order. Everything was receiving purpose. Chaos was beginning to disappear before the absolute authority of the Creator. And as the seas found their boundaries, the world began revealing its true form. The earth emerged from the waters before the word of God. What had remained hidden since the beginning was now revealed before creation itself. The primordial ocean no longer covered the entire world. For the first time, solid ground existed beneath the heavens. Imagine witnessing that scene. Entire continents rising from the depths, mountains breaking through the surface of the waters, valleys forming beneath the light created on the first day. The silent world was finally beginning to take shape. Everything happened by the authority of the Creator. No force of nature guided that moment. No chance shaped the earth. Every mountain, every ocean, every boundary of the seas existed because God had commanded it. And the seas obeyed. The waters remained exactly where the Creator had determined. Vast oceans now possessed boundaries. Dry land stretched beneath the heavens like a new world prepared for something even greater. But creation was still incomplete. The planet now possessed structure, yet it still remained empty. No trees covered the mountains, no plants grew upon the soil, no life moved across the newly revealed earth. It was a world prepared, waiting for the next divine command. And then, God spoke again. Then God said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation." And in that instant, the silent world began to live. Imagine that moment, the dry land newly formed, beginning to transform before the word of the Creator. The soil that had once been empty now brought forth life for the very first time in all existence. Small plants appeared across the earth. Grass began covering the fields. Trees rose toward the heavens. Everything flourished instantly under the power of the divine voice. The planet, once silent and barren, was beginning to become a living world. For the very first time, creation was growing. Imagine forests appearing where only empty land once existed, plains being covered with vegetation, giant trees spreading their branches beneath the light created by God. Life had begun, and every plant carried seeds within itself. Every tree produced fruit according to its own kind. Everything followed perfectly the order established by the Creator. Nothing was random. Nothing existed without purpose. The earth was no longer only a world of oceans and rocks. Now it was becoming a place prepared to sustain life. And as vegetation spread across the planet, creation moved closer and closer to its true beauty. Creation was changing before eternity itself. The world that had once been only an abyss covered by waters was now being filled with life under the authority of God. Vegetation spread across the newly revealed earth, completely transforming the face of the planet. Imagine beholding that scene. Green fields stretching as far as the eye could see. Giant trees covering mountains and valleys. Plants growing across the fertile land created by the Creator Himself. The silence of the world was beginning to disappear. The earth no longer seemed empty. For the very first time, beauty existed upon the newly formed land. Everything flourished in perfect harmony. Every tree produced its fruit. Every plant carried seeds according to its own kind. Creation followed exactly the order established by the voice of God. And even without the existence of the sun, the moon, or the stars, life was already beginning to cover the world. That made the moment even more extraordinary, because all life depended entirely upon the will of the Creator. The earth was being carefully prepared for everything that was still to come. The seas now possessed boundaries, though the continents had been formed. Vegetation covered the planet, and the universe was becoming more and more distant from the chaos that existed in the beginning. But the work of creation still continued, because the heavens above the earth still remained empty. Every act of creation revealed the absolute power of God. Nothing happened without purpose. Nothing existed outside His will. First, light had been separated from darkness. Then, the heavens separated the waters. Now, dry land had appeared, and life was beginning to flourish upon the world. Imagine the greatness of that moment. The seas remaining within the boundaries established by the Creator, continents stretching beneath the heavens, forests covering the newly formed earth, while light illuminated all creation. The universe was no longer an empty place. Everything was beginning to possess form, beauty, and purpose. And still, no effort was required. God did not struggle against chaos. He simply spoke, and creation obeyed. Every word transformed reality instantly. What once did not exist came into existence through the authority of the divine voice. Perhaps this was one of the greatest demonstrations of the Creator's power. The entire universe responded to His command. The seas obeyed. The land obeyed. Life itself obeyed. And as vegetation continued spreading across the world, the earth moved closer and closer to being ready for what would come in the following days of creation. The third day transformed the earth forever. What had once been only a planet hidden beneath the waters was now becoming a world prepared to sustain life. The seas had found their boundaries. Dry land stood beneath the heavens, and vegetation covered the planet for the very first time. Imagine observing that new world. Gigantic mountains dominating the horizon, valleys stretching between newly created forests, oceans reflecting light upon their tranquil waters, and everywhere, life growing upon the earth. Creation was beginning to reveal its true beauty, but something was still missing. The heavens remained empty. There was no sun illuminating the day, no moon shining during the night. The stars had not yet been scattered across the universe, And even so, the earth was already being carefully prepared by the Creator. Nothing happened outside the perfect order of God. Each stage of creation unfolded at the exact moment it was meant to happen. First, the world needed to exist. Then, it needed to be organized, and only then could life begin to appear. Everything followed an eternal purpose. Chaos no longer ruled creation. Now there was order. Now there was beauty. Now there was life. But even greater things were still to come, because the Creator would still fill the heavens, the seas, and the earth itself with living creatures. And then silence came once again. The seas remained in their places. Dry land stretched beneath the heavens. Vegetation covered the newly formed world. But above creation, the universe still waited. Imagine that moment. A living planet for the very first time in existence. Forests spread across the continents, vast oceans surrounding the earth, the heavens suspended above everything in absolute silence. And yet, there was no sun, there was no moon, no stars illuminated the vastness of the universe. The heavens were still incomplete. It was as if all creation waited for the next act of the Creator. Each day brought the universe closer to its final form. Every word of God brought more order, more beauty, and more purpose into the world. Nothing was rushed, nothing was random. Everything happened exactly as the Creator had planned since the beginning. And in that silence between the days, the universe seemed to wait, because something glorious was about to happen in the heavens. The lights that would govern the day and the night had yet to be created. The sun would shine for the very first time. The moon would illuminate the darkness, and countless stars would be scattered across the immensity of the cosmos. But in that moment, the earth remained silent beneath the glory of God's creation. And so, the third day came to an end. And there was evening and there was morning, the third day. The world had changed forever. The seas now possessed boundaries. Dry land had emerged from the depths. Mountains and valleys stood beneath the heavens created by God. And for the very first time, life existed upon the earth. Vegetation covered the newly formed planet. Trees, plants, and fields spread across creation, transforming the empty world into a place prepared for everything that was still to come. The universe was no longer a formless abyss. Now there was order. Now there was beauty. Now there was life. But creation was still incomplete. The heavens above the earth remained dark. There was no sun ruling the day, no moon illuminating the night. The stars had not yet been placed in the vastness of the universe, and on the next day, the heavens themselves would be transformed. God would create the great lights of the heavens, the sun, the moon, and countless stars spread across the cosmos. Creation moved forward step by step under the authority of the Creator, and each new day revealed even more of the greatness of His work. Because the story of creation was only beginning, and what would come next would be even more magnificent. If you want to continue this journey through the creation of the world according to the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, make sure to subscribe to the channel and follow the next episodes, because the greatest events in the history of mankind are still yet to come.